Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mr. Mendoza Gaming, and today we are going to be talking about how to get professional audio that is consistent, clear, and clean in your recordings for YouTube. This can be whether you're doing videography, gaming, whatever it is, you can do this, as well as if you stream. Streaming's a big thing right now, so if you can get good audio, I mean, you got that next step to becoming, if you want to become a full-time streamer, you're going to need some type of professional audio in order to get as many views and as many people following you as you can. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and let's go ahead and jump into this immediately. You can download and search for virtual audio inputs and outputs, virtual audio cabling, virtual audio routing, anything like that, and find the one that you like best. If you have an ASIO compatible interface, which you can search through your documentation that you got with your interface, you can search through the vendor's website, see what they support, and if they support ASIO drivers, I recommend you use Synchronous Audio Router. All this is a virtual input and output system. There's no interface, no nothing. It's all done within a program that you run for your audio. So once you download that and install it, if you have the ASIO compatible driver, make sure you have that, otherwise it's not going to do anything. You can go into your audio settings here, and I'm just going to have to run through it really quick. You won't be able to hear me because if I open this, the audio gets all cut off because it's not focused on the playback and recording setup. So real quick, I'm just going to show you a quick example of what that looks like when you set it up, and I'll be right back. I showed you how to add a new input and a new output. Playback is output, recording is input. This is for Synchronous Audio Router. I don't have the ability to talk through it while I have that up, because if I do, or if I try to talk through it, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to hear nothing, and that's it. You could see the audio levels were completely silent. And yeah, but regardless, that's just a quick rundown. I mean, it's really, really not hard. I mean, there's plenty of forums and tutorials about Synchronous Audio Router specifically. Well, that's not what I'm focused on right now. I'm focused on the grand scheme of audio. So after you have Synchronous Audio Router set up, you have your inputs and outputs set up, go ahead and set your defaults to in Windows to whatever you had set up. So for me, I have desktop out. That is all of my system sounds. That's game audio, that is YouTube audio, whatever it may be, stream audio for listening. That is all of your desktop out. So when you play a game, you want it to all go through that output that you had set up, which is, again, desktop out for me. And I recommend naming them. If you don't name them, it's going to be a pain to figure out which one's which. And then I also have comm out, which is communications out. Essentially, all that does is in my Xbox app or Discord or whatever you're using to chat, as long as you're able to set an output for that software, you can set that for comm out, and then that gets redirected over to your, again, audio system that you're running to affect your audio. And intro music for me is just so that I can hear it when I'm starting a stream at the beginning. And then in recording, I have set up Game Mic, which is my chat mic, in-game mic, Discord mic, Xbox app mic. That's mainly what I use them for. That is just output of your microphone volume and sound into that application. And then I have Stream In, which is the sound that's all for the entire stream, whether that's the game, it combines the game, the microphone, and the communications all into one channel, or two channels technically, one stereo channel, and sends that out to OBS. And then after that, you're pretty much good to go once you have that set up. Now we can jump over into what I use, which is Reaper. I'm still on the evaluation license right now because I'm still seeing if it's going to work for me. It seems to be working so far, so we will see what happens in the near future. But what I do is, this one is my microphone, where it says mic right here. That is my microphone. I have my gain set really low so that I don't distort my microphone. It still does a little bit software related stuff, but I run it through a limiter first, set it about minus 15 dB. And then the ceiling, the limit, is minus 0.1. That just means that I will never digitally clip, because if I get up to 0.01, it's not going to go up to 0, which will cause digital clipping. And my volume is never going above, minus 15 dB. That's no matter what I do, it's not going to go above minus 15 dB. And then that's just so I can pull the volume up a little bit more to have more control over my the plugins and processing that I have later. The next thing that I run through is an expander. I know it says gate here. Ignore that. It is an expander. The difference between a gate and an expander is a gate will cut off all audio underneath a certain volume limit. So if you're talking and your mic's only hitting, minus 30 dB and you have that gate set for, minus 29 dB, you're not going to hear anything out of your microphone. So I personally don't recommend using a gate. You should use an expander. An expander just takes, when you're not talking, takes the noise of your room, which there's always going to be noise of your room or your interface or, electronic noise or whatever it may be, fan noise, and essentially takes that when you're not talking and pushes it further down. It doesn't completely cut it out. It gets pretty close and you can have it completely cut out and still be an expander, but it's going to sound unnatural. Mainly because when you talk, suddenly all that noise is going to be there, and when you stop talking, it's going to be gone. So an expander is the way to go, and you just set it to your personal liking, and then you go from there. I mean, it's really not hard. This specific one just has a slider that I can move up or down, and it goes where it needs to go. But set that to your personal preference. Like I said, I do recommend using an expander and not cutting it out completely. That way it still sounds natural. That noise is still going to be in there a little bit, but it's going to be underneath whatever game you have or anything like that, so it's not going to sound too horrible. And after that, I run through a compressor. Now, I run through two compressors. This first compressor is a fast attack and a somewhat medium release. The attack is how quickly that compressor is going to hit and reduce your volume in your loud speaking moments. So like if I shout right now, I go, huh, it compresses it. And it keeps those loud peaks from being loud peaks. It pushes it down and gives it, it's still going to be peaking a little bit, not in a bad way. You're going to still have those like mountaintops in your audio, but it's not going to be nearly as bad as your raw audio. And I just have that compressing, minus 1 to 3 dB in normal talking, and if I get really loud, like I get really mad and I'm like, oh my god, I cannot believe that just happened, whatever it may be, it's going to compress a lot the louder I get. And it's going to just hit it real hard and then come back at a medium to slow release time, which is just, again, the time it takes the compressor to let go of that audio. After that, I run through yet another compressor. You can ignore these EQ moves. EQ you can do if your microphone, if you don't like the sound of it. But choose a microphone that fits your voice as closely as you can get without having to use EQ. And after that, I run through another compressor, which is this guy right here. And I have that set for, on the ratio, roughly 6. I can probably push that up a little bit more, but that's okay. And then this is just my threshold, which just tells the compressor when to start compressing. I have that set for minus 21.9, and then really fast attack and a pretty quick release as well. I could probably dial that back and get a better sound, but again, if you have a lot of noise, or not again, I should tell you, if you do have a lot of noise in your room, try to get rid of it before doing any type of processing. Because when you compress, that noise is going to be brought up higher and higher and higher and higher in volume. So if you have a fan running, you start compressing, every time that microphone or every time that audio signal is compressed, that fan noise is going to be pushed up louder and louder and louder. So keep that in mind. It is going to take some playing with, and that's just how that works there. But again, compress. you should always be compressing. Compressing keeps your volume of your speaking at a relative level. It keeps it all uniform, and that way when you get really loud, it'll compress more, and if you get really quiet, it might not compress at all, and that's okay. Because when you're loud, it's still going to be roughly the same volume of when you're talking really quietly. Like if I talk normally, I mean, you can still see that it's compressing just a little bit sometimes. But I mean, you probably can still hear me pretty well, you know? And that's where audio processing comes into play, where it'll always be compressing, or maybe it won't be, and it just keeps everything consistent and sounding pristine. So after that, I run through a clipper/limiter, which just essentially, if you go over a certain volume, it cuts that volume off. And then if you set it for the ceiling for -3 above what your threshold is, it's going to push it up to -3 dB. And that's just for, again, if you get really loud, you don't want clipping to happen in your software because it's going to sound really bad. So after that, clip it, limit it, whatever you're going to do. I run it through 2 limiters on my microphone just because this is also what I use for conversations in Discord, Xbox, or game. That way it's all consistent and it's not that big of a deal. And then the last limiter is just set for -4. That way if I do get really loud, it's just going to compress it. It's just going to take it and go, no, you're not going above -4 dB. You're not going to clip. And then I have the limit set for -0.1, which is just what I do personally. You can set that for -3. You can set that for -4, even down to -6. But keep in mind, if you adjust the output ceiling, the limit, the output, whatever it may be, it is going to take that volume and put it to that same area. So that's the microphone. You know, that's what I have set up for processing. So that way, if whatever I'm doing, you know, you should still be able to hear me fairly clearly. If you do choose the route to go and do what I'm doing, where you have multiple inputs and outputs for each different thing, you can set up a communications channel where I have an expander again, and the only thing the expander's doing is if someone has a fan on and it's coming through their microphone and it's distracting you or something, you can very easily pull that fan out a little bit. Obviously, you can't do it very much, but you can do that. And that's what I do. You know, some of the people that I play with, you know, they have speakers that they're playing out loud, or they have a fan on, and it's not a problem as long as you know how to, if it's annoying you, you know how to fix it. And that's what I do here. And then I also run it through 2 limiters, which is at -6, bumping up to -3. And I have -3, bumping it down to -6. I don't know why I did that exactly, but it's working, and it works flawlessly almost every time. So that's what I do there for any communications. And all you got to do is set the output to whatever app you're using to the comm out, or whatever you decide to name it. As for desktop, I have a compressor on it, and all this compressor is doing is when I'm talking, as you can see, it's compressing while I talk. Only while I talk. If I go quiet, it does nothing, but as soon as I start talking, it starts compressing again. And what that's going to do is, let's say you're playing a game, you know, like Fortnite's pretty big right now. I play that myself. While you're playing, if you have something going on and you talk, it's going to compress that volume, push it down, make it quieter by, this one's doing about 6 dB. It's pushing it down and automatically ducking the volume of the game or your desktop down so that your voice can more clearly come out. And then as soon as you stop talking, goes right back up. That's just how it works. That's what it does. And then yeah, and then I run it through 2 limiters, which are -3 and -6, and -7 and -3. That's just in case the game is not very well balanced. So in Fortnite, you have some of those times where, you know, it hits that 0 mark hugely, or if you're playing Minecraft mod packs, if you have a really, really loud sound, it's going to limit that, a complete brick wall. You're not going above this volume, and we're going to pull it back down. And that's pretty much what I do there. And then this is just a, again, I actually don't know why I have this on there. I'm not entirely sure, but, you know, it's doing something. I'll probably take it off, but, you know, you just need to run through a limiter of some form, and you'll be all good there. But that's pretty much it. And then after that, like, let's say you're desktop audio is still too loud for you, you can just go to this fader and pull it down. See, I pulled it down by another 6.5 dB, and that seems to be good for where I have it, because then that volume of that game or that audio is still a little bit quieter, and then as you talk, it goes even quieter, but then comes back up to the proper volume for your stream. And then I have all of that running to my master channel, which is this one right here. Every DAW has a master channel. Some of them you have to create them. Most of them they come already loaded up in the session with the master file. Where I have another 2 limiters where, again, it's redundancy. All I'm doing is keeping that peak from going way too high and causing, the viewers discomfort. If they're using headphones and you peak and you distort and you clip digitally, it's going to hurt their ears. So I use 2 limiters to counteract that. And this is the first one, -6, pulling up to -3, and then the second one is over here, my bad. The second one is right here, where it's -4 to -3, and that's if it gets that loud. If it doesn't get that loud, it's not going to do anything other than pull your volume up just a little bit to the proper limit. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, other than these outputs, which I have it, obviously my microphone's sending over to the desktop channel, and the game mic is running out. And then you can just set those up as outputs in your DAW. You just select it, and then you go add new hardware output in this case. And then you just select where you want it to go. You got the stream in, you got the game mic, you got headphones. This is everything from 10 up above is specific to my interface. So anything below 10 is everything that I set up. And then again, for inputs, same thing. Everything underneath aux2 R, comm out 1. That's all what I set up. So comm out 1, 2, comm out 1, playback 2, playback 1, 2, enter music 1, 2. That's all that you have to set up. So keep that in mind. And then if you do need to set up your output. So if you have an interface or headphones plugged in, you need to make sure that everything outputs to there and then finds its way to your physical output. So in this case, if I went back to my sounds really quick, you need to make sure that all of your playback, if you have, Sirius Logic, whatever it is, you need to make sure that that all outputs to that place. So for me, I have monitor left, right, virtual 1, 2, or headphone left, right. All of those go to my headphones or speakers if I have them playing. And you just need to make sure that you output to your actual hardware audio. So if you have an audio card, make sure it outputs to that audio card. If you have headphones plugged in, make sure it outputs to those headphones. So on and so forth. For me, it's speakers. The speakers for me is monitor left, right, virtual 1, 2, or headphone left, right. And that's pretty much it. Just send both your comm communications and your microphone volume over to your desktop channel. So that way the compressor kicks in when someone talks, whether it's you or your buddies or whoever you're playing with. And it'll compress that volume so they'll be able to hear clearly. And then I have the stream in 1 and 2. That is just a stream output into OBS for when I go live and stuff like that, as you can hear right now. I mean, even if I talk quietly, you can still hear me pretty good. But if I get louder, obviously it does get a little bit louder because you are getting louder. But it doesn't get overly loud. It doesn't clip. It doesn't sound bad. It doesn't distort. It doesn't sound awful. And that is what your goal is to do. And that is all that you have to do. So, yeah. I'm going to call it for this video. If you have any questions, if you need any help, you can post your stuff in the comments. And I will do my best to help in both software and hardware. If you're looking to buy some stuff, I can direct you to some cheap budget-oriented, things to buy, and we will be having a great conversation. We'll all have great audio because that is so important, especially in YouTube and streaming and media, any type of entertainment, anything. It is so important. And yeah, so with all of that said, I've been Mr. Mendoza Gaming. Like this video if you liked. Hit that subscribe button down below. Follow the Twitch link in the description if you want to follow me and get notified when I go live on Twitch. I do go live on Twitch and YouTube simultaneously, so you will see that as well if you subscribe to the channel. And yeah, so like I said, comment down below. If you have problems, please, please, please comment down below because I am here to help you. I want to help you. I want to help you grow because it's what you should do, And especially if people, audio's not very well known, so, you need to have someone to kind of direct you. And if I can help direct you, even if it's to someone better than me that explains it a lot better, because I know I just skimmed through it really quickly, just let me know. I will help. Like I said, limit, compress, expander. That's pretty much all you need to know. And make sure you do all 3 of those. And you'll be good. You should be pretty good. So, with all that said, I've been Windows of Gaming, and I will see you guys next time. Probably in a live stream. Adios.